Happy Thursday and happy Facebook Live. I am having some technical difficulties here. I tried to join through my phone about 4 times and it kept kicking me out, just saying I couldn't do the broadcast. So I don't know what's going on with that. Um, and Now, of course, I'm on my laptop, so not sure how well I'm going to be able to show the project this way. Facebook is being weird today. um, and I guess yeah, it's all different on my laptop. Hi, Pam. Hi, Tina. Glad to see you there. I see a couple people joining in. Um, Technical difficulties, just crazy stuff. So anyway, you get a different view of my work, my space. We go like this and it'll be more like usual. Anyway, I'm not sure how I'm going to show the project, but we'll just wing it and see what happens. So let's go ahead and get started with some the announcements. I have some super fun projects for you today. Just had so much fun with this. This is definitely what I call a creative bliss project. Getting my little giddy, happy self going with my crafts. So I'm excited to share with you. I have some announcements first. First of all, one thing I forgot to announce in my weekly newsletter, which went out yesterday, is that there's a sales tax holiday happening in several states around the country. Not all the states are doing this. So I want to share those details here since I forgot to put it in my newsletter. So the states that are included are Arkansas, Florida, Massachusetts, Missouri, New Mexico, Ohio, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, and Virginia. So if you're one of those and you have questions about, any of the details, you just let me know. The different states are doing the sales tax holiday on different dates. The different states. So like Arkansas is August 1 to 2. A lot of the states are doing it August 7 to 9, and then Massachusetts is not till the end of August, the 29th to the 30th. And then the things that are on sale are anything that would sort of qualify as school supplies, like adhesives and markers and pencils and what else, like catalogs, scissors, those kinds of things. So if you are anxious to know the details, or you happen to be in Arkansas and it's happening August 1st to 2nd, let me know and I'd be happy to give you the details on that. So all right, so that's announcement number one. Bonus days are ending really soon, so that's where for every $50 you spend between, well, it was July 1st through August 3rd, you get a $5 coupon. You would have gotten an email with that coupon code in it. You do need to have that coupon code, and that offer ends August 3rd. I think I just said that. So, and you can redeem the coupon or coupons August 4th to the 31st. So, if you're just joining in, just know I was having some technical difficulties. I'm actually on my laptop instead of on my phone. My phone kept kicking me out and would not make the live video happen. So we're just kind of winging it here. We're going to see how I'm going to be able to show you the project today. But we'll we'll deal with that in just a minute. So, okay, so next up, let's see what else. My mini catalog product shares, my Taste of a Sweet product shares offering ends August 3rd as well. And if you're not familiar with those, it's basically a way of getting a little bit of each of the products in any given suite to try it out. And it allows you to potentially get a lot more product, a lot more variety of product without spending a crazy amount of money. So anyway, this is an example. This is one of the ones I'm using today. It's called Snowflake Splendor. This is the suite. There's 4 products in it. Some of the glimmer paper, one each of the sheets of designer paper that comes in the pack, a half a pack of these special rhinestone gems, and then a quarter pack of the ribbon. So I do that for all of the suites that are in the holiday catalog. This is the cover of the holiday catalog. Can't show you inside until it goes live. It will go live on August 4th. So anyway, my product shares are, those are offered through August 3rd. You have to sign up, reserve, and pay for them by August 3rd in order to participate in that. And I have given away all of the coupons that I had accumulated myself. That was my little early bird bonus. So anybody who signed up early and paid by the 30th, as long as you qualified and you purchased 5 or more shares, you got a coupon. In some cases, few people got 2 coupons. So happy to be able to give those away. Let's see what else. Um, yes, I have another technique class coming in August. I don't have the details for it yet, but I'll be sharing more of those details soon. Now, you can buy any of my technique classes ad hoc, so 1 at a time, or you can buy them 3 at a time, the ones that have already happened in the past. But as a new class launches, I do what's called a pre-order. So August will be the pre-order period for the August class. And then I do technique classes every other month. So August, October, and December will be the remaining technique class months for the rest of the year. And this is also the time of year where I offer a subscription opportunity. So where you can sign up ahead of time, sign up for 3 classes all at the same time. Anyway, and it gives you a little bit better deal on the classes. I'll have more information about that also coming next week in my newsletter. All right, so that's it for the announcements. So I'm ready to go to show you the project with my my interesting setup here. I've got of course, my laptop in front of me. So I'm going to see whether I can put my laptop over here in my workspace and point it down. It's not going to be ideal. I'm just telling you that now because you're going to get kind of a skewed, odd view of it. But I don't know how else to do this because my phone is not allowing me to go live today. So let's see what I can do here. Might be able to, if I can just lift this up. Challenging, man. Okay. All right, well, it's going to be a strange view, but we'll do our best. So I hope you guys are going to be able to see what I'm doing here. And I'm a little bit tempted to try to do my phone again, but just don't know if it's going to let me do that. Well, okay. Well, this is going to be weird. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, let's just try it this way, and we'll see what happens. Like I said, I tried getting on live on my phone about 4 times. I think Facebook has done some reconfiguration of their page. It was even different getting on my laptop than usual. So anyway, today what we're doing is I'm going to be heat embossing with embossing folders. These are the 3 that I have done projects for today. And this is just super fun. And I'm going to show you the method, and then I've done some of the advanced work just to make it a little bit easier and get to show you more fun stuff. So I'm starting with a piece of watercolor paper here, and I'm going to use my Versamark ink pad. And for this one, I'm going to start with the Winter Snow Embossing folder. That is one of the products in the Snowflake Splendor Suite. That's this product share that I showed you earlier at my strange angle there. And I am going to be using several of those products on my final project. So I'm going to start with my embossing folder and my Versamark ink pad. Versamark is your magic ink pad for heat embossing. And I'm going to just ever so gently rub it over the surface of my embossing folder. Now, it's a sticky ink, and it does leave a bit of a residue, so when you wash it, you'll need to use some warm, soapy water, and it should come off. I've also, at times when it didn't come off as well as I might have liked it, I used a magic eraser, and that helped me to get off any excess sort of gunky feeling that there is with this sticky ink. So I've done both sides. Now, I did it this way because it gives you a different effect depending on whether you're looking at the embossed or the debossed side. So I'm just going to stick this in here, close it on up, and then I'm going to use my Big Shot to my Big Shot at a strange angle there. And I'm just going to run it through the Big Shot, and what it's going to do is get the Versamark all over the piece of watercolor paper, but only in the spots where the Versamark was. So this is really kind of a fun, sort of tricky way to selectively color, because once you've heat embossed, your whatever's heat embossed is going to resist the ink. So next what I'm going to do is put this into my clear embossing powder, and I'm going to put it in, I'm going to cover both sides, right? So I'm going to be heat embossing both sides, and this is just going to give me an option. You guys know I like to have options, and I like to see different effects. So I've covered my one side with embossing powder, and then I'm going to cover the other side. And when I heat this, of course, I can't put it down on my table because it will stick to the table. But I can then show you two different ways to use this embossing folder. And then if I like how one side comes out better than the other, then I can use that one side. So now I have one of these already done ahead of time. But what I would do is just heat emboss that. And because I'm not going to actually do it on camera, I'm going to set this aside. On this side, which side is it? There's one side that's better than... Anyway, I'm going to put it down on my paper just ever so carefully off to the side, and then later I'll heat emboss it. So I'm going to show you the one that's actually already heat embossed. And then I'll, heat that later so I can finish that project up. All right, so now I'm going to grab some paper towels. And because this is watercolor paper, I'm going to just show you here on the camera that on this side, I hope you guys can see this okay, so awkward. The part that's recessed down is what had the Versamark on it and is also shiny. You might be able to see that there, right? So the snowflakes themselves are exposed watercolor paper, and what's recessed is clear embossed and will resist any ink that I put on there. The other side, the recessed portions are the snowflakes, and that's what has the embossing powder on it, the heated embossing powder, and the flat areas are exposed watercolor paper, so I can color those. So this is going to allow me to do some really fun effects with watercolor over these embossed images. So now whenever I do this, I experiment with different colors, and so I never throw away a scrap of watercolor paper. So this is a scrap, it's just the tiniest little strip, but I was messing around with my colors, and this is how I chose what I wanted to use for this particular project. So what I'm going to be using here, well actually what I experimented with was Highland Heather, Pacific Point, Bermuda Bay, and Coastal Cabana. And what I'm going to use is just the Pacific Point and the Bermuda Bay, those two in the middle. And I'm using my water brushes. I am just loving these new water brushes. They each have a different tip, small, medium, and then the large flat one. So here's the large flat one right there. And I can cover a large surface area with that. And then this one, even though it's bigger, it has a nice fine point tip. And then the smallest one has this tiny little tip, which allows me to do some detail work. So I'm going to use the biggest one here. And I've got an old accessory container right here with some ink droplets in it. And if I were doing this again and again, I would probably label them by putting a piece of cardstock underneath each little droplet. But I'm just doing this, so I'm not bothering with a label. And usually what I do, actually, I'm not sure what color that one is, I will put my bottles in the spot where the ink is, so I just kind of put them on my space off to the side right next to, so that it corresponds. If that makes any sense. Okay, so I'm going to start with my spray bottle, and I'm just going to spray my cardstock here. I want it to be nice and wet, and I'm going to use the big fat tip of my water brush to make sure it gets all wet. And it's important that it's wet all over, otherwise the ink sort of gets stuck and it doesn't move around on the paper and doesn't look so good. And you can also, you can see there's a little spot where you can push, it says push right on there on the brush to squeeze out more. And I'm just going to start with my blue, my Pacific Point, and just start adding some colors here and there to my embossing folder, my embossed piece. And then I can just dab off the excess, and I'm going to test and see if that's actually my Bermuda Bay. It is, so always a good idea to know what color you're actually working with. And then I'm just going to go over it like this. And again, the areas that have heat embossing on them are resisting the ink and they'll actually wipe off. And the areas with exposed watercolor paper absorb the ink and just make a really pretty, beautiful looking finished product. Now that looks kind of messy because of course it's wet. I could dab it off, and if I do, it's going to take off a lot of the color. It's sort of better to let it dry, and you can then go back in and touch up and try to get some darker spots if you like, and do the same with the Bermuda Bay. You can see I'm just being very kind of casual about it all because where the embossing powder is, it's just going to rub right off. Now, it's not going to end up being perfect in that, when you were brushing your Versamark over the surface, you do get some in between and sometimes on the images that are supposed to be just watercolor, but it usually works out pretty. It can be quite pretty. So there's that side. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Now, when I did this version, I actually decided that because this was all flat surface and that the powder was recessed in, that I could brush it off a little bit with a flat brush. I didn't use this one. I used a dry paintbrush like that, thinking that I might clean up around the edges. Now, it kind of looked like I didn't get as much of the snowflake images embossed. So when I do this, it's going to sort of reveal how much did I really emboss. Again, I want it to be nice and wet. So this is one of the 3 embossing folders I'm going to show, of course, and I will be showing you 3 finished projects before we're done. And then I'll show you the back and the front too. I'm being very kind of casual about where and how I do this. I'm not really being very strategic. A little bit more color. And of course, I can't see any of your comments because of the position of the of the laptop. I'm gonna have to go read them afterwards. I like seeing who's out there. I'm glad you're out there if you're out there. And if you're watching the replay or you're catching this in the middle, oh, there's some purple in there. Just no technical difficulties with getting to go live on my phone, and so here I am on my laptop, just doing the best that I can. So there's kind of it's a little bit more subtle. Now the snowflakes themselves should be white, but I think when I was rubbing them off with, rubbing the powder off, the excess powder, I kind of rubbed off some in those depressions of the snowflakes too, so it didn't come out quite as distinctive as it would otherwise. So you can see that there's color in those snowflakes. It shouldn't stay in there. If it was heat embossed, it wouldn't. It would just rub off. Okay, so I'm going to show you that's still pretty, don't you think? I guess I can kind of, yeah, I'm not seeing comments scroll. So anyway, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you the project that I made with that, and I am going to actually finish it. I sort of have a plan for how I'm doing that project, but I haven't totally finished it. So let's grab that one. Now, the products that I'm using, again, are from that Snowflake Splendor Suite. This is the stamp set that it goes with. Snowflake Wishes. And then there's a set of dies that goes with it as well. I'm going to be using both the stamp set and the dies. So there's the dies. And they're just beautiful. It's absolutely my favorite products in the holiday catalog. I love this suite. All right, so there's the, what are they called? Blue adhesive back sequins, and you might be able to see that they're two different styles there. Some of them are a little bit more blue, and the others are, you know, have some more colors in them. It's kind of hard to describe. Very unusual and unique. And then this lovely ribbon, which is kind of an iridescent. And okay, so for my card, I'm using a white card base. And here is the one that I finished earlier. So there's side one. That's the side where the snowflakes are all supposed to be white, and they're more white than on the version I showed you just a minute ago, the one I just worked on, which I have now set aside, and who knows where it is. Oh, there it is. It's under my paper towel. Okay, so this is the difference. This one has, the snowflakes are more white than this one because I rubbed off some of the embossing powder without realizing it. And then there's my back side. On this back side, I used some of the purples, whereas on this other one, I used, trying to get the lighting there. On this one, it's backwards for me, guys. So I keep going this, and I think I'm doing this. Anyway, this one one of them has purple, and the other one doesn't have purple. So just so you can compare. We're going to use the one that I finished earlier because it's nice and dry, so I don't have to worry about it being wet. And you know, I'm going to actually use the simpler side, not the one with the purple. So I am going to cover up my purple side. I'm mounting it on a piece of Pacific Point cardstock. And I didn't attach it in part because I wanted to be able to show you both sides. So but I am going to go ahead and attach it now. I always struggle with covering up that second side. Like, now this is also has, of course, the heat embossing on it, so I have to make sure that the adhesive is actually coming off of my adhesive dispenser there. Alrighty. And I'm just going ahead and attaching it to my Pacific Point. There. And I have adhesive on the back side of my Pacific Point already, so that's just going to get attached directly to my Whisper White card base. And there's where we are now. And then I've die cut some snowflakes, 3 of the snowflakes from the set. And I have some dimensionals, some little mini dimensionals, actually cut in half on the back sides of 2 of them and glue dots on the other. Now I did die cut a bunch of snowflakes, so I just wanted to show you this. It's very fun. There's one image or shape in the dies that it doesn't actually cut out the positive space, it just leaves the negative space. So that's going to be really pretty to play with as well, and it actually would look really pretty with a colored background with it as well. So I just had to show you that. All right. So next up, I'm going to attach a piece of vellum. Now I have already stamped and heat embossed one of the sentiments from the set in black. It's May Your Season Sparkle. So pretty, right? And I've seen people do this before where you stamp on the black and then, you know, fussy cut it out, and that's what I did. I really liked the way it looked. Now I've attached it with glue dots, so you can see the 3 glue dots on the back, and I've done that, you know, just to give me a head start. Now when I attach this to my card, I'm going to actually put the adhesive right in behind the black so that it's hidden, because as you may know, adhesive will show through the vellum. So I've just put a little bit of adhesive just right in back there. And I'm going to justify this slightly up from the center. And I'm actually not going to press down until I know exactly where I want everything. So I'm going to show you guys that right side up. I hope it's not backwards for you guys. Hard for me to know what you guys see at this point. Okay, so the big snowflake, I've put some glue dots on. I had to actually roll them up a little bit because there's not a lot of space back there to play with. And I'm going to have this one kind of down here. I'll turn it over so you guys can see it in a minute. And there's my little itty bitty half-size mini dimensionals on the back of that. I'm going to tuck that one over here. And actually, I'm not going to attach that quite yet because I have one other thing I want to put on here. So I'm going to use a little bit of this lovely ribbon and just going to trim off a piece. And it's going to go down here on the bottom sort of to, I don't know, kind of underline the sentiment a little bit. So I've trimmed off a little bit to make it, you know, at an angle there. And then I'm going to attach it, trim off just a little bit more, make it a tiny bit shorter. And I'm going to attach this with glue dots. Regular adhesive sometimes doesn't work so well with, you know, actually that's going to show through, isn't it? That's not good. How am I going to attach this? You know what? Maybe there's going to be probably going to be a snowflake in there that I can hide it behind. Get it off. Yeah, let's be strategic about this. Sort of designing live a little bit here. Okay, let's get the placement of my snowflakes, and then I'll see if I can hide it a little bit behind one of the snowflakes. So yeah, it's going to tuck right in there. So I could put a glue dot in the spot that will be hidden. Grabbing my paper piercing tool. And tuck it right in about there. And it's going to tuck just under the sentiment a little bit. I'll show you that. Turn it around so you can see it better in just a sec. I actually need to say that, you know, I haven't had technical difficulties with Facebook in a very long time. So there's where we are at the moment. So I guess I should be grateful that it's been a while. Just hope this isn't a regular thing. I might have to just practice. Okay, so I'm putting that one on there. And then I got one more to place on here, and then I'm going to be pretty much done. So there. Now I have one other little element I was planning to add, and that is some of these rhinestones. So let's go ahead and do that. So I decided I want to use the more blue ones. I'm going to face it upside down to me so you guys can see it. You guys can see that? Not such a great view. I'll face it towards me and then I'll show you when I can really show you properly. So I'm going to do a big one of these in the center of the biggest snowflake. And then I'm going to do a small one in each of the two smaller snowflakes. Now it just seems kind of crazy to be doing snowflakes in the middle of the summer, but I love snowflakes and why not, right? So these products go live obviously on August 4th. You can't actually get them right now unless you're a demonstrator or unless you buy a starter kit. But this is just some of the beautiful stuff you have to look forward to. So of course, I'm not seeing your comments, but please leave comments. Let me know what you think of this because, of course, I can't read what you're saying at the moment. So that is project number 1 with that, whatever it's called, the snowflake embossing folder. So you ready for project number 2? Okay, so I've done this with 2 other embossing folders. One is the evergreen forest, so it's trees. Basically an evergreen forest, and I do have an almost finished project with that one as well. So I'm going to pull my paper towels back in here. And this is going to be a little hard to see, I think. Okay. I wonder if I could turn my laptop up just a little bit. Don't know. Looking around for something I could put underneath my laptop to make it stand up a little bit more. Maybe that's a little better. Hard to say. It's a really strange angle to me. So anyway, all right. So for this one, I played around with some colors. This is shaded spruce and balmy blue, and those are the two primary colors I'm going to use here. And I did actually add a little bit of yellow in here to kind of give it a little bit of a look of a like a sun in behind the trees. Now again, you can see here, this one has the shiny elements in the background and the trees are exposed, or the watercolor paper is exposed. And on this side, it's the reverse. So the trees are actually heat embossed with the clear, and the background, it's actually in a minute. Yeah, it's the trees that are heat embossed, and then around them is not. So the way I did each of these was a bit different, and I think I'm just going to do the one side. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do this side here, which is, I was thinking it was like trees that were covered with snow because they're white. So I'm going to try something actually a little bit different from what I did on my first one. I'm going to use the balmy blue. So I got another one of my little palettes and my shaded spruce. And I've got crushed curry. That's going to be sort of my sun color. So I'm going to use one of my other water brushes, something that's going to give me a little bit more control. And make sure I got the right color here. So that's okay. That's my balmy blue, and I'm going to spray my paper to start with. Now I'm doing this different. I'll show you the way I did the other one, but I'm going to try to get the background to sort of look like the sky in behind the trees, and use a little bit more blue than I did the green the last time. So let's see how this works. So just covering the whole thing basically with blue. See how much actually gets into the recesses. It's actually a lot of water on there. Get a little bit of that off. Okay. So that's what it looks like at the moment. And I'm going to dab a little bit off. It's always nice to have an extra paper towel around to kind of dab off color where you might want to remove it. Now I'm going to actually sort of try to create my sun, and this is going to be hard to do live because it was challenging to do when I was just me, myself, and I earlier, but we're going to try it anyway. What the heck? So I'm going to just draw what is like a half circle over part of the trees and just wet that area. And it's kind of blue, so I need to now dab it off because I don't want my moon to be, or my sun to be blue. I want it to be yellow. The good news is if this doesn't work, I still have one to show you that did work. And the blue, where the blue meets the yellow, is going to turn green, which is like a tree anyway, right? So maybe it'll be okay. Oh, goodness gracious. And I think I'm going to come in with a little bit of the green at the bottom. I've been dying to play with this embossing folder. It's really fun one. Okay. Now, I'm actually going to spray it a little bit at the top, get off some of that yellow. It's really strong yellow. I had thought afterwards I should have done like a softer yellow, but so I might just like cut my losses, show you this right now, and then show you the finished one because, like I said, it's a little bit hard to get this effect. Okay, we're going to jump right to the finished one, or the semi-finished one. All right, where did that go? Okay, so this one is all part of this bundle in the Pines. This is actually what's featured on the front of the holiday catalog. I was sold on it immediately because I just loved the front and the trees. And then it has a set of coordinating dies to go with it. So that's the set of dies. And I have used a couple of the dies on the card itself. So I'll show you the focal piece that I finished earlier. And I kept it unassembled so I could show you both sides because I did do both sides again. So there's the back side. That is, of course, the trees are watercolor paper, so that the watercolor paper is exposed, and then the background is heat embossed. And then I did shaded spruce and then the balmy blue at the top. And then this is my finished one with the sun, which I played with for quite a while, but I really like how it turned out. So I'm going to go ahead and now attach this. I didn't attach it because I had to show you the back side, just for the heck of it. Now I die cut 3 of the trees, or 3, I used actually 4 of the dies in the set. These 2 right here, and then this shape right here, you use 2 of the dies to do it. So one of them cuts out the openings and the other cuts around the outside edge. So that was kind of cool. I'm not actually using that on this card, but just wanted to show you for the fun of it. All right, so this it's also going to be on a white card base, but this focal piece is backed with these, I'm forgetting the name of it. I just said it a minute ago. Shaded spruce, one of my favorite greens. So there it is with the green in behind, which I think is so pretty. Now I watercolored this little panel there after I heat embossed it with white embossing powder. Just thought that would look really pretty and in keeping with the watercolor look. And then I'm going to actually pop this whole thing up on foam adhesive sheets. So one of the new products in the catalog are the foam adhesive sheets. So they come like this. There's full sheet size. And I just love the idea of being able to pop it up so that it actually stays popped up more, if you will, in an easier way. So I cut 3 strips off of one of those larger pieces, and I'm just going to space them on the back of my shaded spruce piece. So the bottom and the center and the top. And I calculated, well, these are a 1/2 inch wide strips, and you could basically get 9 strips out of one piece. So maybe, I guess, 3 cards out of each sheet. How many sheets are in here? There are 6 sheets in here. So I guess that's 18 cards worth. I did my math right. I don't do math too well live on camera. Decided that. Makes me nervous. Because I'm actually pretty good at math, but something about being on camera makes it harder. All right, so there is my card mostly done. And now I'm just going to attach a couple of my trees. So I've got glue dots on the back of my larger tree. And that one's going to be, get my spacing here, sort of poking up in front of the sun. And then my second tree is going to go, it has a few little itty bitty dimensionals on the back. Two of them are small mini dimensionals cut in half, and the other third one is a quarter, because there's not tons of space in behind. You can also stack up glue dots, roll them up, multiple ones, to get this same look if you don't want to be messing with cutting up the little mini dimensionals. So there is my finished card with that one. Pretty happy with that. You gotta let me know what you think. So, did you like the forest? Okay, and I got one more for you. Oh my gosh, this was actually the quick version. Now the last one is actually where I started with this whole project. And for this one, I'm using the Seabed embossing folder. I love this one because it's got so much detail in it. It's just nuts. So again, I'm going to do some quick watercoloring, and then I'll show you the project. For this one, I actually have the finished project. I'm not actually going to do any of the assembly, but again, the cool thing with this is that you've got the heat embossing in the recessed portions on this side, and you've got the heat embossing, well, they're all recessed, right? But on this side, it's the flat is heat embossed that's recessed, and then here it's the small detail that's recessed and heat embossed. So let's do a quick some quick coloring of this one. So on the back side, what I did with this one is I used the new In colors, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but Stampin' Up! Has a shortage of re-inker bottles, and somehow I neglected to get re-inkers when they first, when the catalog first went live. It was on my list, but I was too distracted with getting other things and forgot. And so instead of having re-inkers to do my little color palette, I'm creating my own color palette by taking the ink pads and putting them onto acrylic blocks, and I'm going to pull the color off of the acrylic block. So I'm going to do 2 colors on one block and 3 colors on the other. And as long as I, get a fair amount on there, it shouldn't be a problem to have enough ink. This is another way to avoid having your re-inkers. Now, the re-inkers are great because it means your ink pads can last like forever. Ish. I won't guarantee forever, but they last a long time as long as you have ink to fill them up. Okay, so I'm going to start with spraying my paper again. And for this one, I'm going to just do the quick broad brush coloring, wetting the whole thing. And then I'm going to do this part super quick. So I'm going to start with my cinnamon cider along the bottom. You can see it's kind of bleeding up, which is kind of fun. And cleaning between my applications so I can make sure to get a good amount of color of each color. And I'm just kind of creating a rainbow here. I could be more specific about where I'm putting my colors to actually color the shapes, but I'm going to save that part for the second side. Now I'm moving on to my Just Jade above the yellow. Now the yellow will easily get overshadowed because it's the lighter color, so I try to be careful not to put too much green over the yellow. And then when I get further along, I'm going to blend them a little bit more. And now I'm moving on to my Misty Moonlight. I'm going to show you this in just a second. Show you so far. That's what it looks like so far. Cleaning off my brush and then doing my Magenta Madness at the top. And now here's where some of the fun begins on this side, is that you can kind of blend the colors a little bit and get a third color or another color in between. So that becomes sort of a bluish purple in there, and then you get sort of a bluish green once you blend those colors. Make sure my brush is fully clean for this next one, because I'm going to blend the green and the yellow just a little bit. And you can even bring it down into the yellow just to make it look a little bit more mixed. Okay, and there's my my quick sort of rainbow colored ocean scene. So now if you want to be more specific about where you apply your colors, I'm going to actually just show you my finished one rather than actually doing all that individual coloring at the moment. And this is kind of messy. Now before I take this brush away, I did want to point out to you and that when you put this brush into its lid again, you want to, if you just put it in like this, you might push the bristles so that they kind of go out the side. So I like to sort of squish it together, squish the tip together. Can you see that? Yeah. And then put it into its lid. And that way it just kind of saves the tip of the brush a little bit from getting damaged. These ones you don't need to worry about it because they're such fine tip brushes to begin with. All right, so let me show you this finished one. Put this mess off to the side. Hopefully my fingers aren't too dirty. Where did it go? Okay, so this one I used the Whale Done stamp set. And now this is available because this was in the annual catalog. And of course this, and then I've also used the Whale Builder Punch. So check out that cool little punch. I love this punch. Has all those little pieces and parts to kind of build the whale, and then has some you know, these little shapes here to kind of look like little sprig water coming out of his snout or whatever it's called, at the top of the whale. Somebody must know the name of that. So anyway, here's my finished project right there. So this was side 2, where I was able to color all the individual elements. This is watercolor paper again, so it didn't take me tons of time, but colored each of those elements. I did some blending of the colors. So this is actually the Misty Moonlight with the tiny little bits of the magenta in there to mix it. And I mixed these a little bit to get some more purple. So I got magenta, and then the blue and the pink mix to get more variation in my coral. I think that's coral. And then of course I built my little whale with all the different shapes in there. I popped my whale up, popped the sentiment up, and really this is a pretty simple card. The most time involved is doing that background of the heat embossing. So that is my finished last card. I'm just going to put them all up here in this in front of the camera so you guys can see them all. I will take photographs, and these will be on my website. It may not be till Saturday. I may not be able to publish this all until Saturday, but stay tuned. It'll be there. And hopefully next week's Facebook Live won't be so strange. Strange angle. Now I'm going to actually point the camera up at my face now. Let's see if we can get this situated. I have a total disaster off here to the left with everything. I'm just pushed aside as I've been doing this. All right, so I want to show you a couple of quick things about these embossing folders. So being able to just color each of those individual elements was so much fun. Just love that embossing folder. Now I did this first before I thought of doing the heat embossing. I just took some watercolor paper and colored over it, right? And I tried to control where the color went, but as you can see, it got over the top of those shapes. So it just allowed me to do so much more. Now this one turned out pretty cool, but again, it's just a little bit more muddy and mixed up than where you can control where the colors go. So of course, I did this one first, and then I kind of was like, oh, I got to try this with some other embossing folders because this is just the coolest thing ever. So I hope you guys think it was super cool too. Loved showing it to you. And let me think if there's anything else I wanted to mention about the embossing folders. Each one is a little bit different in how you use it, right? So this has so much detail in it that you can just kind of rub the Versamark over the top, not pressing it, right? Because then it'll go into the deep parts. But just rubbing over the surface of the raised portions. Now the embossing folder that is the trees, the pine trees, that one has an area that's actually flat, and I'm looking around to see where I put it because I know it's around here somewhere. There it is. So how you do this one is a little bit different, and this one actually has a lot of different depths to those images, and it's probably hard to tell here, but It just makes it kind of a different little adventure to do it. And of course, this is all flat at the top, whereas on the other embossing folders, you really don't have as many areas that are flat. So anyway, they're all fun to play with, and I sure hope you guys will give this technique a try. And there's I actually made two others. I made two others and I didn't get a chance to get as far as to show you. I'm going to show you quickly. We'll probably design cards with them and then I'll put them on my website at a different time. But I absolutely love these. They're very different. I'm going to show you this one first. I'm going to save the one that I love the most last. I always save the best for last. So I used this embossing folder. I forget what it's called. Magnolia, maybe? Magnolia? And on this side, I actually heat embossed, and you can see that the heat embossing got on some of the flower so that the shape, it wasn't all solid colored, right? And it's a little bit raised. It was a different kind of challenge to do this than the other ones I showed you today. And then on the back side, I didn't heat emboss because I didn't think that made sense on that side, and I just colored it in. I watercolored, of course, and it's the recessed image. So I think they both turned out actually really pretty. It's slightly different technique-wise from what I showed you earlier, but still really fun. And then last but not least is sort of a verdigris sort of look. So I used this embossing folder, and I did do the heat embossing. So on this one, it's the recessed portions are clear embossing powder, and here it's the swirlies that are recessed and are heat embossed. But it was so much fun to play around with this, and I would have played with the tin tile embossing folder with this style because that would be really good, but I just ran out of time. Not enough hours in the day to create. Anyway, so stay tuned for finished projects with these two lovely heat embossed samples, dry embossed, heat embossed samples. Alrighty, so just a couple reminders for before we close. Got to get back here, just to remember a few things. So don't forget about the tax holiday. I will include the details in my newsletter next week. So anybody who's the 7th to the 9th of August, you'll have that information available to you. Don't forget to order product shares to reserve your shares. I'll include a link in the Facebook post and in the YouTube description as well. So you can get to that page on my site. There's a reservation form. And you do have to reserve and pay for them by August 3rd. And of course, the new catalog goes live on August 4th. And Stampin' Up's also launching a new online store format as well. So that's going to be interesting, different. We'll learn some things, I'm sure, along the way. Hopefully some really nice improvements to the site. And let's see what else. I guess that's pretty much it. Watch for my August technique class coming soon. And I will be back next Thursday, August 8th. And it is it's really the first Thursday of the month. So it's going to be my Simple Sweet Stampers tutorial bundle, sneak peek projects. And that focus is the Whale of a Time product suite. So stay tuned for some more fun with this project, with this bundle. And actually, just a quick sneak peek. This is actually my club project. It's another project I made with the Whale of a Time. I haven't done a blog post for it yet, but it's coming soon. These were my club event in July. So it's a fun fold. So it folds flat, and then it actually stands up. And there's a white piece on the back to write on. It's not there yet, but it will be. And then everybody had different designer papers to play with, so it was so much fun. If you purchase from me, this is one of the card kits you'll receive for your order, and any order $50 or more gets 3 free card kits. That's just one of 3 fabulous projects that you'll get kits for. So, so much fun. So I hope you'll join me next week, and thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to go look at the comments since I didn't get to see any of them during the video. And I hope you guys enjoyed what I had to share. Please comment and let me know what you think. I will look forward to reading your comments. Thanks so much again for joining me, and have a great week. We'll see you next week. Bye.